So this is just a little look at some data that we have here at the department to show y'all what the health of the preneed funeral contract industry looks like right now as far as volume. And so back in 2019, we were around 8,000 preneed funeral contracts that we received during that fiscal year. Again, that runs from July 1st of a year through June 30th of the next. We saw it go up post-COVID, and especially in 2022 and 2023. And now it's kind of leveled out around 9,200 contracts being filed at our office during a fiscal year. And then just want to remind you all about some privacy laws. We have some state laws that apply to all people who are doing business with South Carolina residents. And so that includes y'all too. And so just a reminder of our state law for records disposal, that if you are disposing of a record that contains personal identifying information, you need to modify it by shredding it, erasing it, or by other means, making sure that you cannot read or decipher that personal identifying fileable information. Some other laws talk about pulverizing it, which is kind of fun to think of, but you just want to make sure that that information cannot be seen by somebody who should not be seeing it. And you can hire a third party to assist you with disposing of those records, but make sure you do your due diligence before you go forward with that contract. And that essentially means that you're taking steps to ensure that that particular business can comply with the law and dispose of it properly. And then make sure you get a certificate of destruction saying it has been disposed of within the parameters of the law. There are some exclusions from that particular statute, but even though they're listed, they don't really apply to preneed funeral contracts, except for providers, except for some of y'all are considered financial institutions if you take payments, if you're engaged in those credit sales. But the federal laws that they mention here are way stricter than our state laws. And so to be exempt from our law, you have to be subject to and in compliance with those specific federal laws that are listed. But if you're not complying with our law, you're not complying with the federal law either. So it's really not much of an exception. Another privacy law that I want to make you aware of is our security breach law. So if you have a breach in the security of your system and personal identifying viable information may have been exposed, there are notification requirements, certain penalties associated with those, an exception similar to the disposal rule for banks and financial institutions. And then if more than 1,000 residents are affected, then our office has to be notified of that breach. And when you notify residents of a breach, it can be done in writing, it can be done electronically with certain caveats, it can be done by telephone, and there is substitute notice if the amount of folks who are affected or the cost of notifying affected residents reach certain thresholds. We do currently have a publication called Identity Theft and the Law. It's a guide for businesses and government because public bodies, state agencies, have to comply with similar parameters in the area of business records disposal and of security breaches, as well as social security numbers. And so we have this publication, I think it came out in 2012 or 2013. It's on our website, but we are updating it. And we are so close to getting ready to release it. So if you have a breach or want to learn more about these particular laws, I would tell you to go ahead and pull that up. It's on the business resources page under the education and tools, but just know that we'll have an even better, a 2.0 of this coming out in the near future. We also do webinars on a quarterly basis for state and federal privacy laws and a safeguards rule updates webinar, which is under the Federal Trade Commission's jurisdiction. So the next ones will be in October of 2025. And to register for those, you can go to our website at consumer.sc.gov, scroll down to the bottom and you'll see our calendar. And that's where all of our webinars, just like this one, will be located, and you can click on those to register for it. We also do an email out to the contact persons that we have on file for all of our regulated industries so that y'all are aware of those webinars. We're also considering, and I think we are moving forward with doing a business scams webinar on a quarterly basis too. We, as the Consumer Protection Agency, a lot of our educational outreach and scam prevention and things like that are certainly on the consumer side of things, but we also recognize that businesses are scammed too, and oftentimes it can relay into a security breach. And so we want to make sure that you all are aware of that information too and get those scam scam tips out there. And I'm going to give you an overview of some of those momentarily, but want to make you aware of some free shred events that are coming up. So we don't limit them just to consumers. Businesses can bring out information too. You can bring out 3 bankers boxes or 3 kitchen trash bags full. And these are in October. October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, which is why we're doing the webinars on state and federal privacy laws during that month. And then we hold shred days throughout the state. And just so you're aware as well, we do these in March too, because it's National Consumer Protection Week that we turn into a month and go statewide and hold these different shred days to help folks get rid of that personal identifying information so it doesn't fall in the hands of someone who shouldn't have it. There is a web page on our website too. If you Google free shred events, you can find this information. And then as far as cybersecurity goes, just want to bring this resource to your attention as well. ftc.gov/small business has a link to a wonderful publication that the Federal Trade Commission, and there's a bunch of other acronyms for other partners in it, like NSIT and some other folks, came together to create cybersecurity for small businesses. And it just is a fantastic guide to make sure that you have training and steps in place to prevent your organization from becoming a victim of a breach or a hack or things along those lines. As far as scams go, these are some of the tips that I just wanted to relay so that you'll be aware. Scammers always pretend to be someone that you trust, a federal agency, a state agency. We've had folks pose as us to try, a vendor, things like that, to try and get you to believe their scheme. They create a sense of urgency. There's always a deadline. They use intimidation and fear. If that deadline passes, you're going to be fined, or you're not going to be able to take advantage of whatever offer it is that they're posing to you. And they ask for untraceable payment methods like wiring and things like that. So just want to make sure that y'all have training in place. I mean, it's the human is really the person who causes the majority of breaches and things of that nature. So you want to be wary of email requests that have requests for personal, financial, or other sensitive information, and verify that request in person or via telephone within your organization. Remember that email is not a safe way to send sensitive information. You want to make sure it's secure if you do have to utilize it. Establish a multi-person approval process for transactions that are above a certain amount and for sensitive information requests, and train your staff on information security policies and how to spot the latest email scams.